They've ruled from the shadows for centuries, and most people still have no idea who they are. In this video, we break down 10 takeaways from Gary Wayne's shocking interview that exposes their secrets. One of them will change how you see power forever. Takeaway 1. Hidden power of bloodline families. Gary Wayne opens with the claim that a small circle of 13 ruling families carries the same pride that ancient giants once carried. He says they trace their blood back to the Nephilim, the hybrid beings described in Genesis, and keep those records locked away from public view. Prince Charles once joked that he is kin to Vlad the Impaler, and Gary explains this is not a random boast but part of a deep tradition of proving dragon lineage. These families sit on European thrones, occupy high offices in Russia and China, and quietly fund global banks that write many of the rules we live under. They guard marriage alliances the way a farmer guards seed corn, because mixing with common lines would weaken their claim to divine right. Gary repeats that they do not fear elections because they believe birth is a stronger credential than any vote. He warns that until regular people learn how these genealogies work, they will keep signing away freedom without knowing who really benefits. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Secret Society Chain of Command. After naming the families, Gary Wayne explains their management system. At street level stand the Freemasons, who host pancake breakfasts, yet above them rise the Illuminati, the Rosicrucians, the Committee of 300, the Council of 33, and finally the Royal Bloodline Elders. Each level holds deeper oaths, darker rituals, and tighter control over money and policy. Gary says Skull and Bones at Yale is an Illuminati hatchery that guides future senators, judges, and spies. A young recruit might think he is joining a harmless fraternity, but in time he learns to obey unseen seniors. Gary offers the image of a great tree whose hidden roots reach fallen angels and whose branches reach every modern institution. He insists that the higher someone climbs, the fewer written records exist, because real power prefers whispers over documents. By the time a person sees the top floor, they already belong to it. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3, Freemasonry, the friendly front door. Gary Wayne calls Freemasonry the welcome mat for the entire system. A man cannot simply walk in, but must be invited by a brother who thinks he is useful. The first test is belief in any god at all, which seems broad and tolerant, but actually readies candidates to accept the great architect, a polite title for Lucifer. Gary notes that degrees 1 through 32 feel like a civic club where members raise money for hospitals, yet at degree 33, the teaching flips and long-time myths get exposed. He quotes old lodge talk that this moment overturns every earlier conclusion. Because most members never reach that level, they defend the lodge from criticism and vow it is just charity. Gary warns that secrecy is the true discipline being taught, and that secrecy builds habits that carry people into deeper networks long after they forget why they joined. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4, maps and buildings that bind towns. To prove these ideas touch daily life, Gary Wayne walks through town design. He shows that many North American settlements were laid out by Masons, who placed a courthouse on the north-south line and 2 rival churches on the east-west line, then hit a lodge hall near the center. This 4-square grid seals legal, religious, and fraternal power into one ritual space. He discovered the pattern first in his own hometown and later in historic districts across Florida and New England. Some founders even tunneled beneath streets so private rights could continue out of sight. Gary urges listeners to study city plats like a detective studies fingerprints, because once the pattern is seen, it cannot be unseen. He says the design acts like invisible railings that guide public ceremony, civic law, and spiritual energy all at once. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5, magic hiding inside popular stories. Gary Wayne then turns to culture, saying the same elites groom minds through beloved tales. He claims C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien attended an Oxford writing circle, sponsored by Rosicrucian mentors. Their books teach noble blood, destined kings, and magical beasts as childhood entertainment, but the deeper lesson is that some bloodlines should rule while others serve. Disney films follow the same script, dressing sorcery and laughter. Gary reminds viewers that a faun in Narnia or a wizard in Middle-earth is no accident, because occult writers see the Bible as a fairy tale and want the public to see Scripture the same way. A high school listener might recall how a superhero film makes spells look cool, and Gary would say that is the point. The best trick is the one performed while the audience smiles. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Conspiracy is often delayed truth. Gary Wayne and host Taylor Welch talk about the word conspiracy and how media uses it to shame questioners. Gary laughs that yesterday's rumor keeps turning into tomorrow's headline. He points at stories once mocked, such as government surveillance programs or corporate influence in science, which later proved correct. He says elite planners hide facts in open daylight, mixing them with obvious nonsense so critics look silly by association. Learning their code words, hand signals, and architectural symbols is like owning the key to a cipher. Once decoded, news reports and press photos reveal private jokes shared among insiders. Gary encourages viewers not to fear the conspiracy label because truth survives ridicule and rewards patience. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Prophecy timeline now unfolding. Shifting to Scripture, Gary Wayne lays out what Jesus said in Matthew 24 about earthquakes, false messiahs, and a coming abomination that divides history into two halves of 3.5 years each. He prefers to let Jesus speak for himself instead of forcing the text into popular theories like pre-trib or post-trib. Gary matches these words with Daniel's vision of 10 kings who control the earth just before a global leader rises among them. He points to the United Nations model that already splits the world into 10 regions and to lobby groups like the Club of Rome that publish maps matching Daniel's outline. For a simple picture, he likens it to a soccer game where the referee has already announced halftime, and we are now hearing the whistle blow. He believes many churches avoid this topic because it scares donors, yet the Bible placed it there so everyday people could prepare. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Fallen angels still plot victory. Gary Wayne says the struggle is ancient and spiritual. After the crucifixion, Jesus visited the gloomy jail called Sheol and told the imprisoned spirits that their rebellion was doomed, yet those spirits still whisper to descendants on earth. The elite here promises that a phoenix age will rise after global chaos and that loyal bloodlines will inherit that new world. Gary compares this to a gambler who lost a fortune, yet keeps betting, because a voice promises the next roll will hit. He reminds us that Scripture says evil will push events forward even faster as time grows short. Understanding this motive explains why leaders sometimes promote policies that seem to wreck their own countries because they expect a final payoff that comes after the fire. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Freemasons guiding modern leaders. Returning to the present, Gary Wayne states that Freemasons still dominate military leadership, intelligence agencies, and many local councils. He notes that most United States presidents swore Masonic oaths, that British royals hold Grand Master titles, and that gatherings like Bohemian Grove act as informal job interviews for high office. A rising officer may see nothing wrong with joining because senior commanders praise the lodge as a brotherhood. Yet each level teaches him a slightly bolder loyalty to unseen goals. Gary cautions viewers to judge leaders by the networks they keep, not the speeches they make. He reminds that a general or mayor can do great local charity while also lining up with plans that remove national borders. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Technology and the hive mind goal. In the closing segment, Gary Wayne warns that artificial intelligence and brain-machine links aim to rebuild a hive mind, similar to the one giants were said to share before the flood. Elon Musk speaks of good and bad AI, but Gary thinks the destination is the same city even if drivers take different streets. He imagines a future where social credit scores, face recognition cameras, and neural implants merge citizens into one obedient cloud. He suggests that the panic around viruses, climate fears, and online hate is used to justify ever tighter data nets. For a classroom example, he says it is like convincing every student to hand their phone to one central friend who promises to write all their messages for them. It sounds easy, but soon nobody recalls how to speak for themselves. Gary ends by urging listeners to remain fully human, because once the plug is sealed into the brain, the choice to disconnect may vanish. Here is a brief introduction about Gary Wayne. Gary Wayne is a Christian researcher and author, known for exploring the connections between ancient history, biblical prophecy, and secret societies. He is best known for his book series, The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, where he investigates how bloodlines, fallen angels, and hidden agendas shape the modern world. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.